We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India celebrates National Unity Day, commemorating birth anniversary of independence hero Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, also known as Iron Man of India. Thousands take part in Run for Unity. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Amrit Kal of next 25 years is an opportunity to make new prosperous India. Pays tribute to Sardar Patel at Statue of Unity in Gujarat. United Nations pushes to open Karam Shalom crossing to deliver aid to Gaza. UN officials repeatedly called for a ceasefire in Gaza. Israeli forces attack North Gaza's main city from both sides. Netanyahu rules out ceasefire with Hamas. And in ICC Cricket World Cup, Afghanistan upset Sri Lanka to continue its memorable World Cup campaign. And on to details now. President of India, Draupadi Murmu, led the nation in celebrating the National Unity Day, also known as Rashtriya Ekta Divas. She paid floral tributes to Sardar Patel at a statue in New Delhi. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Home Minister Amit Shah and Union Minister Meenakshi Lekhi also paid floral tributes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid floral tribute to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel at the Statue of Unity in Gujarat on the birth anniversary of India's first Home Minister, which is celebrated as National Unity Day. The Statue of Unity dedicated to Sardar Patel was inaugurated here by PM Modi on October 31st, 2018. Also, the Prime Minister administered the Oath of Unity to the gathering at a function held at Ekta Nagar in Narmada district.
मैं राष्ट्र की एकता, अखंडता और सुरक्षा को बनाए रख।
Well, on the birth anniversary of the Iron Man, Prime Minister Narendra Modi witnessed the National Unity Day parade, comprising marching contingents from the Border Security Force and the State Police Force.
भारतीय पुलिस बलों के 54 ध्वजवाहकों का दस्ता परेड में सबसे अग्रसर। इस 54 ध्वजवाहकों के दस्ते की कमान संभालते हुए
We can witness the parade which was held today at Ekta Nagar in Gujarat. The Prime Minister saluting there and taking the parade. He administered Oath of Unity to the countrymen before this and paid tribute to the Iron Man, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Addressing the countrymen after attending the celebration, the Prime Minister hoped the day will further the spirit of unity and brotherhood in our society. He said the events at the Red Fort on 15th of August, the parade on 26th January at Kartavya Path, and the Unity Day celebrations at the banks of Narmada have become the three powers of nation upliftment. He added that the Amrit Kal of next 25 years is an opportunity to make a new, prosperous India.
इस अमृत काल में भारत ने गुलामी की मानसिकता को त्याग कर आगे बढ़ने का संकल्प लिया है। हम विकास भी कर रहे हैं और अपनी विरासत का संरक्षण भी कर रहे हैं। भारत ने अपनी नौसेना के ध्वज पर लगे गुलामी के निशान को हटा दिया है। गुलामी के दौर में बनाए गए जरूरी कानूनों को भी हटाया जा रहा है। आईपीसी की जगह भी भारतीय न्याय संहिता लाई जा रही है।
Also, Prime Minister Modi highlighted how expansion in tourism will help people in Ekta Nagar.
एकता नगर में इको फ्रेंडली ट्रांसपोर्ट की व्यवस्था भी की गई है। अब यहाँ पर्यटकों को ई बस, ई गोल्फ कार्ट और ई साइकिल के साथ पब्लिक बाइक शेयरिंग सिस्टम की सुविधा भी मिलेगी। पिछले 5 वर्षों में 1.5 करोड़ से ज्यादा पर्यटक यहां आ चुके हैं और ये संख्या निरंतर बढ़ती जा रही है। इसका बहुत बड़ा लाभ यहां के हमारे आदिवासी भाई बहनों को हो रहा है। उन्हें रोजगार के नए साधन मिल रहे हैं। साथियों, आज पूरा विश्व भारत के संकल्प की दृढ़ता को, भारतवासियों के पौरुष और प्रखरता को, भारतीय जनशक्ति की जिजीविषा को आदर और विश्वास से देख रहा है।
As part of the celebrations, Run for Unity was organized in New Delhi. Union Minister Amit Shah flagged it off from the Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium. Around 7,700 people participated. Addressing the gathering on the occasion, Shah said that Sardar Patel is the reason for a united India.
आज मैं इस मौके पर सरदार पटेल जयंती के मौके पर मैं आप सभी को एकता दिन की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। पूरा देश 2014 से इस दिन को एकता दिन के रूप में मनाता है। हम सब जानते हैं, आजादी के बाद अंग्रेज इस देश को खंड खंड होने के लिए छोड़कर गए थे। उस वक्त 550 से ज्यादा रियासतों को कुछ ही दिनों में एकता के धागे में पिरोकर भारत माता का अभी का मानचित्र बनाने का काम, ये विराट काम हमारे लौह पुरुष सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल ने किया था।
Various functions were organized all over the country. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh participated in Run of Unity program in the largest state of Uttar Pradesh. And moving on, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected calls for a ceasefire in Gaza, saying it would amount to a surrender to Hamas, surrender to terrorists. Speaking in Tel Aviv, Netanyahu said their ground campaign in Gaza created the possibility for the release of more than 200 hostages being held by terrorist group Hamas.
Our common assessment of all of the, not only the cabinet members, but also all the security forces and the military, is that the ground action actually creates the possibility, not the certainty, but the possibility of getting our hostages out, because Hamas will not do it unless they're under pressure. Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism, to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen.
And on Monday, the Israeli army released a video of airstrikes on what it says to be Hezbollah military facility in South Lebanon. In a social media post, the Israeli Defense Force said that the strikes were in response to launches from Lebanon against the country. The two sides have been exchanging fire across the border since the start of the conflict between Israel and Hamas on October 7th. The violence on Lebanon's border with Israel is the serious escalation since its 2006 war. And United Nations workers have repeated calls for a ceasefire in Gaza. Addressing the UN Security Council, officials warned of the humanitarian crisis unraveling in the Middle East. This comes as authorities in Gaza say more than 8,000 have died in the past 3 weeks. But Israel and its allies argue a ceasefire will only benefit Hamas. Sally Patterson reports from New York, where the United Nations is headquartered.
On Monday, Security Council members were briefed by UN experts on the situation on the ground. They warned Gazans are living in, quote, appalling, unsanitary conditions with limited food and water. Many, they say, are sleeping on the floor without mattresses or outside in the open. More than 1 million people in Gaza have been displaced in the past 3 weeks of fighting. And now UN officials warn hunger and despair are turning into anger against the international community. Over the weekend, people broke into warehouses run by the United Nations and took flour and other basics. The UN says it's a sign civil order is starting to break down. Executive Director of UNICEF, Catherine Russell, spoke about the devastating impact the violence is having on children, specifically in the region. She said children in both Israel and Gaza are experiencing terrible trauma, the consequences, she said, of which could last a lifetime. Violence and upheaval, she went on, can induce toxic stress in children that actually interferes with their physical and cognitive development. Now, more than 60 UN workers are believed to have died since fighting began, with many continuing to work day in, day out to get aid to those who need it most. Sally Patterson in New York, reporting for DD India.
And the United Nations is urging for the opening of the Karem Shalom crossing to provide aid to the besieged Gaza Strip. The UN states that multiple border crossings are necessary and Karem Shalom, controlled by Israel, is the only suitable one. Aid has been trickling into Gaza from Egypt via the Rafah crossing, while Israel's UN ambassador Gilad Erdan donned a yellow star as a symbol of condemnation against Hamas, criticizing the Security Council for its silence on recent attacks. The Security Council has not passed any resolutions on the conflict, with some blocked by the US and others by Russia and China. The UN General Assembly recently adopted a non-binding resolution for an immediate humanitarian truce.
Some of you have forgotten why this body was established. So I will remind you, from this day on, each time you look at me, you will remember what staying silent in the face of evil means. Just like my grandparents and the grandparents of millions of Jews, from now on, my team and I will wear yellow stars. We will wear this star until you condemn the atrocities of Hamas and demand the immediate release of our hostages.
While US is also pressing for a speedy delivery of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip to assist besieged Palestinians, aid supplies to Gaza have been choked since Israel began bombarding the densely populated Palestinian enclave in response to a deadly attack by the militant group Hamas on the 7th of October.
Obviously, it goes without saying that we continue to closely monitor events in the Middle East and the conflict between Israel and Hamas. Of course, the president remains continually briefed, so additional trucks. And we had 45 or so get in yesterday. We're hoping that we can get some more in today, but obviously, even with the increase, it's going to take time to make up the difference. And we know there's an awful lot that needs to happen to accelerate and to increase that flow of aid.
Well, on Tuesday, the U.S. Defense Secretariat and Secretary of State will present their argument to lawmakers seeking approval for President Biden's $106 billion budget request for military aid to Ukraine and Israel. However, some Republicans may express concerns about the plan's size, according to reports by Kate Fisher. Let's take a look.
US President Joe Biden pressed Congress for the combined aid in a prime-time address last week, proposing $61 billion in lethal assistance to Ukraine and around $14 billion for air and missile defences in Israel, which has a better equipped military. The push underscores the growing Republican resistance to linking assistance for both nations. In the House, the newly elected Republican Speaker, Mike Johnson, said that he plans to move a standalone Israel funding bill to the floor this week, separating it from Ukraine aid. The White House spending plan also designates a lesser sum for Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific region, $7.4 billion, which includes funds for the Navy to produce nuclear-powered submarines under the defence sharing agreement with Australia and Britain, known as AUKUS. The White House has said it has less than $5.5 billion in funds to continue transferring weapons from US stockpiles to Ukrainian forces fighting Russia. Kate Fisher in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Well, Japan has imposed a fresh set of sanctions on individuals and a company related to Hamas, according to the statement released by Japanese Foreign Ministry on Tuesday. The sanctions consist of freezing the assets of individuals and a company that have helped fund Hamas. Individuals, including Hamas operators Mohammed Ahmed Abd al-Daim Nasrullah and Ayman Nofal, were newly added to the list of people and organizations deemed as terrorists by Japan. It is the first set of sanctions Japan has imposed on Hamas since Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel on the 7th of October. Also, officials in U.S. President Joe Biden's administration voiced alarm at data showing a rise in anti-Jewish sentiment at U.S. universities and met American Jewish leaders on Monday to discuss steps to counter the surge, a White House official said. Tensions between pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian groups have sprung up on some U.S. campuses, prompting university officials to tighten security. Last week, the Anti-Defamation League reported a nearly 400% spike in U.S. anti-Semitic incidents overall since an October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. Of 312 incidents between October 7th to 23rd, about 190 were linked to the Israel-Hamas conflict. Expressing concern at reports of anti-Semitic threats, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said senior Biden administration officials are with Jewish leaders and universities to discuss the threat of anti-Semitism on campuses.
Since the October 7th Hamas terrorist attacks in Israel, we have seen an alarming rise in reported anti-Semitic incidents at schools and on college campuses. There's no place for hate in America, and we condemn any anti-Semitic threat or incident in the strongest terms. We're also closely monitoring and concerned by the reports of anti-Semitic threats at Cornell University. To the students at Cornell and on campuses across the country, we're tracking these threats closely. We're thinking of you, and we're going to do everything we can on both at Cornell and across the country to counter terrorism, anti-Semitism.
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Finally, General Motors and the United Auto Workers Union reach an agreement. To participate in the mega event Meri Mati Mera Desh, people from all over India have reached the national capital Delhi to participate in the final event. And Pakistan gears up to take on Bangladesh at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata today.
turning crisis into opportunity, transforming ideas into action, stories of real change, tales of sustainable solution. This series is going to tell stories of such changemakers. Watch Changemakers on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. Google CEO Sundar Pichai made an appearance at the U.S. District Court in Washington on October 30th to defend the company against claims that it violated antitrust laws. Google raised concerns to Apple about Safari browser's lucrative queries to Amazon, leading to the U.S. government pursuing a case over potential illegal actions. He also acknowledged that Google's decision to make its search engine the default on laptops and smartphones is a key point in a U.S. antitrust fight, focusing on billions of dollars spent. And General Motors and the United Auto Workers Union have reached a tentative agreement winning record pay hikes to end 6 weeks of a coordinated strike against the Detroit 3 automakers. Details of the General Motors deal were not announced, but sources said the UAW won the same package of wage increases it agreed at the other two automakers, which raises top pay for veteran workers by 33%. The General Motor workers will return to work after an official announcement of the deal. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden hailed the tentative agreement reached between General Motors and the United Auto Workers Union aimed at ending a walkout by the auto workers. Biden, at a White House event, opened his remarks by saying the agreement is another piece of good economic news and ensures the big three automakers can still lead the way on quality and innovation.
They have reached a historic agreement and a hard-fought agreement that was really battled for a while, but it was all done in good faith. And these record agreements reward auto workers who gave up much to keep the industry working and going during the financial crisis more than a decade ago. These agreements ensure the iconic Big Three can still lead the world in quality and innovation.
And Venezuela's High Court has suspended the opposition's entire primary election process, including its result. The top court also ordered organizers to hand in documents identifying millions of voters in the latest challenge by the government of President Nicolas Maduro to its adversaries ahead of the 2024 presidential vote. The court ruled the opposition's October 22nd contest may be in violation of the law. It was not immediately clear whether the suspension would effectively result in the nullification of the primary vote. And drone footage taken over Ciudad Renacimiento in Acapulco showed the devastation caused by Hurricane Otis. Hurricane Otis, a Category 5 storm that hit Acapulco, Mexico, has left nearly 100 dead and missing. The storm caused flooding, roof damage, submerging vehicles and severing communications. The city's population of nearly 900,000 is desperate for food and water. Estimates suggest the cost of damage could be $15 billion. Mexico has sent nearly 17,000 armed forces to help distribute food and supplies in Acapulco. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The 5 remaining co-stars of the hit television sitcom Friends pay tribute to their fallen castmate Matthew Perry. The cast spoke out publicly for the first time since the news broke out on Saturday. The stars took a moment to grieve and process the unfathomable loss.
Murder mysteries, and it was fun. It was sort of like a
U.S. President Joe Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden hosted Halloween at the White House on Monday. The Bidens handed out books and candy to trick-or-treaters. As the year, the focus is on books, with the White House calling it a Hello Read celebration. The White House was adorned with trees, pumpkins and flower bouquets for the event. In a historic first, the heart of Dubai witnessed a magnificent Ram Leela performance, captivating the Indian community living in the Emirates and adding a vibrant cultural touch to the city's diverse landscape. All the artists are Indian expatriates residing and working in the UAE, hailing from various professional backgrounds. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. People from all over India have reached the national capital Delhi to participate in the final event of Meri Mati Mera Desh. For the event, soil has been collected from every corner of country in an Amrit Kalash, and it will be made into an Amrit Vatika near Kartavya Path as the symbol of unity and integrity of the entire country. Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways Nitin Gadkari announced the beginning of 20,000 crore rupees road construction projects from 2024, which will connect 9 districts of Mizoram. He added that the road will also connect Manipur and Nagaland and the country and Myanmar in the international boundary. And on to ICC Cricket World Cup match between Afghanistan versus Sri Lanka. Afghanistan beats Sri Lanka by 7 wickets. Patham Nissanka scored 46 while Kusal Mendes scored 39. Fazal Haq Farooqi took 4-wicket haul. Mujibur Rahman took 2 wickets while Azmatullah Omarzai and Rashid Khan took 1 wicket each to win the match. And in ICC Cricket World Cup, Pakistan today will look to resurrect their faltering campaign as they gear up to take on Bangladesh at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata on today. Pakistan has lost 4 out of its 6 matches and they are on the verge of being eliminated from the knockout stage. They must win their remaining matches and hope that other results also go their way to have any chance of reaching the last 4. A defeat will ensure their elimination from the tournament. On the other hand, Bangladesh began the campaign with a win against Afghanistan, but they have lost 5 out of the 6 matches and has little hope of making it to the semi-finals. And Argentina captain Lionel Messi won a record-extending 8th Ballon d'Or for the best player in the world on Monday. Messi beat Norway's UEFA Player of the Year and treble winner Erling Haaland of Manchester City to win the prestigious prize. The 36-year-old is now 3 Ballons d'Or clear of rival Cristiano Ronaldo, who won the last of his 5 trophies in 2017. Messi has now finished among the top 3, a record 14 times in total, finishing runner-up on 5 occasions. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.